In this video, I'm going to be breaking down some of the vocal production that went into Cal Scruby's song Cigarette Break. I'm going to be getting into his delivery, his background vocals, and I'm even going to be talking about some of the techniques that was used in his mixing. So if you're a rapper who's trying to get better sounding vocals, this is going to be the perfect video for you. Also, if you haven't already heard Cal Scruby's song Cigarette Break, I'm going to post a link in the video's description below, so make sure you check it out. Okay, let's get right to it. First off, let me go ahead and just play a little snippet of Cal's vocal so we can discuss what's going on here.
Keep it cool like pies in the window, numbed out like 10 toes off a benzo, I band out. This is what I do to instrumentals. Other rappers set the bar low, I don't limbo. Ooh.
So Cal's rap voice right here is very smooth and relaxed, and it has a really chill and intimate sound to it. And that's because Cal's not projecting his voice a lot. He has like this, the sound of his voice is almost as if you were right in front of him in a room and he's talking to you. And that typically is a lot of rappers' sweet spot for their vocals, because the louder that you rap, the more that you're like yelling and screaming, the thinner your voice is going to sound and the quicker your voice will get worn out. So when you relax it more, you get more of that kind of crackle, that fry, that If you're wanting to learn more about how to improve your current rap voice, make sure you check out my video tutorial that I made dedicated to that, called 3 Easy Ways to Improve Your Rap Voice. I'll post a link in the video's description. Now that we've spoken about how Cal achieved the tone that he got out of his vocal, let's talk about some of the dynamics of his vocal tone, his energy, meaning the fluctuations of low and high points in energy. For the most part, it's pretty flat throughout this song. It's not all over the place. There's not like these very, very low valleys and high peak mountaintops of energy. He is pretty consistent, and it pretty much stays within the same space overall, but there still are subtle jumps. So let me point some of that out to you real quick. Now, this graph that I'm showing you right now is demonstrating the different energy levels of Cal's delivery. So what you see in purple is reflective of more of an intimate tone, and there's different shades of purple to demonstrate that. So the lighter the purple is, the more soft it is within this intimate kind of range. When I think intimate, I think like being in the same room with a person and talking to them like right in front of you. That's kind of how I think of the intimate tone that Cal has. And then the green is more like what I'm calling more of a public projection of your voice. Like you're in public and you're speaking like across a room, if you will. And so there's different shades of green to reflect that. Again, the lighter shades of green, more on the lower energy side, and the darker the green is, the more energy within that range. So again, just playing the very beginning of verse 2, one thing that I noticed when it comes to delivery and the emphasis that we put on words is a lot of times we add just a little bit more energy to our rhymes, and also sometimes words that land on beats, and that just allows it to pop out a little bit more and stand out. So look at all the dark purple. This is what tends to have a little bit more, just a little bit more energy. And it also has to do with the stress of the word itself. Sometimes just a word in and of itself is going to make it feel like it's more energetic. For an example, words that have S sounds may sound a little bit more sharper, therefore proceed to be a little bit more energetic. So pay attention mainly to all the lighter parts, how those kind of duck down just a little bit in tone or a little bit in energy, and the darker parts tend to pop out just a little bit. It's very subtle. It's very subjective as well. But let's just check it out.
Keep it cool like pies in the window, numbed out like 10 toes off a benzo, I band out. This is what I do to instrumentals. Other rappers set the bar low, I don't limbo.
And again, the energy right here is very subdued, and it's not a big noticeable difference between these different energy ranges that I'm showing you right here. But let's talk about where it is more noticeable, and that's where you see the green come in. So I'm gonna play from bar 4 going into bar 5. Notice his tone changes. It goes from that lower energy, like I'm just speaking to you right in front of me, right here in a room, to now I'm projecting my voice a little bit further, maybe like across the room. Check that out.
Other rappers set the bar low, I don't limbo. Ooh. Don't talk to me, we ain't kinfolk. You was trying to hit me for the info.
Another thing to notate is when his voice rises in energy, that's where the beat drops. That's where the drums and stuff come in. So the energy jumps within the instrumental. So his energy jumps with his voice. The beginning of this verse doesn't have any drums in it. Pay attention to that.
The rapper set the bar low, I don't limbo. Ooh. Don't talk to me, we ain't kinfolk.
And the peak, his mountaintop, if you will, of his energy, it occurs on bars 12 and also bars 15 to 16 of this verse. And I'm just going to play from bars 9 to bars 13. This is where he builds up to that highest energy part on bar 12, and then he brings it all the way back down to that more intimate vibe on bars 13. Let's check that out.
Acrobatic with the flip phone. I move fast with the tempo. Old boy ill like Kim Jones. Shooter, leave a hand up like Jim Jones. I gotta follow through.
And notice when he brings that energy back down, what happens? The beat drops. Do you see how he's in this dance with the instrumental? It's not just him by himself. He's also playing off of what the instrumental is doing too. Let's also listen to the dynamic build between bars 13 and 16 as he ends his verse. He starts off really low with the purple, right? Then he builds it back up going into that darker green. Let's check it out.
I gotta follow through. Locked in, doing what I gotta do. Big bands like Bonnaroo. G, show him how to go and get the alley-oop.
So the main takeaway here is this. Your vocal delivery does not have to be all over the place in order for it to sound good and for it to have some type of emotional impact on the listener. There's many different types of emotions that you can convey within a song, and it's all about what is the right emotion, the right vibe for the song that you're rapping over. Now let's talk about his background vocals. As far as Cal Scruby's background vocals go, he took a very minimalistic approach. He didn't record any stacks. He didn't even record any spot stacks. The only background vocals that he recorded were ad-libs. Now, if you don't know the difference between background vocals like spot stacks, ad-libs, stacks, I've already done videos that explain all those and demonstrate those. So I'll also post links to those in the video description below as well. Now, the reason that Cal probably didn't do a whole bunch of background vocals like stacks and spot stacks is because the track just didn't need it. You know, the instrumental in and of itself is pretty minimalistic. There's not a ton of instruments going on. There's not really a lot of things competing for the space that the vocal is in. And also just the vibe of this song and how chill and relaxed it is. It didn't really need a whole lot. Now, even though Cal only did ad-libs, he did 3 different types of ad-libs. The first type of ad-lib that he did was just a repeat type of ad-lib, meaning he just repeats a piece of the lyric he just said. And it's almost like creating a manual delay effect, if you will. And this is great when you need to fill in space or pauses that are left from your vocal recording. The second type of ad-lib he did is something I would just call like an additional phrase. It's saying something that he has not said yet. And the third type of ad-lib that Cal did is a response type of ad-lib, where he just simply responds to something he just said. And again, most of all of these ad-libs are used in a way that it's just filling in empty space that was left over from the vocal performance. And that's not to say that you can't leave empty space in the track. Sometimes empty space is perfect, especially like if you just said something that was deep and you want that listener to think about what you just said. Or if you're trying to create a cliffhanger and trying to create tension. So let's take a look at just some of these occurring. I'm not going to play all of them throughout the entire song, but just so you can identify them.
Everything I write is like an essay.
That's the repeat. He creates a manual repeat.
Everything I write is like an essay. Intro, body, and an outro segue. I don't give a fuck what your ex say. It's too sad.
And then again, what your ex say. That's another repeat. Also, I want to point this out too. At the very end of the hook, he makes this sound effect with his mouth. He goes, as in signifying blowing out smoke. That's another type of ad-lib he did as well. You can consider that an additional phrase. He's saying something or making a sound of some sort that he hasn't done yet. Let's also check out verse 1.
You are not a shooter, I ain't jumping at your head fake shit. Look at my belt, it's a dead snake.
After he says, I ain't jumping at your head fake, he goes, mm-mm. If you listen closely, he says, that's Cap right here, responding to what he's saying.
And tell the internet that you getting paid. Laying low.
Now let's talk about some of the mixing that's going on in Cal's vocals. So for his lead vocal is pretty dry, it's pretty in your face, and he does though have this really slight like reverb on his vocal. It's hard to notice. You may not even notice it unless you have headphones on. But listen very closely. It's most noticeable when you hear S's happen on the vocal, and you can hear the reverb tail, if you will, that's created by the S sound. Check this out right here.
Band out, this is what I do to instrumentals. Other rappers set the bar low, I don't limbo.
Listen when he says set the bar low. On set, you can really hear the reverb there. It's a lot more noticeable.
Band out, this is what I do to instrumentals. Other rappers set the bar low, I don't limbo.
So it does have some slight reverb. That gives it a sense of space. So it's not like just totally dry. And reverb is great for like positioning the depth of a vocal. you know, so just adding that little bit of reverb places it back just a little bit. It makes it feel like it's sitting in with the music and not just completely on top of the music, if you will. So now when it comes to the mixing, Cal's also using another technique known as delay throws to fill in some more of those gaps that we were talking about earlier. So the way that I was breaking down how he's using ad-libs to kind of fill in some of the gaps created left by the vocal performance, he's doing the same thing here, but he's filling it in a slightly different way. On this one, he's actually just adding a delay instead of like completely repeating what he says manually by recording. He's just adding a delay effect to the tail end of certain words to make them delay. So let me point that out to you real quick. This is happening using eighth notes, like an eighth note delay, and it sounds like it starts in the center of the stereo field and then it spreads out and becomes wider and wider, getting out of the way and making room for when the lead vocal comes back in. This is really noticeable right here. Let's check it out.
Don't talk to me, we ain't kinfolk.
Listen to folk on Kinfolk. After you hear folk come in, you're going to hear the echo. And again, this is going to be kind of hard to hear possibly unless you have headphones on. Let's check it out.
Don't talk to me, we ain't kinfolk. You was trying.
Also, let's talk about how the ad-libs themselves are mixed. So what Cal's done here is he's mixed the ad-libs in such a way to where it feels further in the back than the lead vocal, right? Which is, again, why they're called background vocals. They feel like they're further in the back. So there's three ways that he's made it sound like the vocals are, or the ad-libs are further in the back. Let me first play to you this part and just listen to the ad-libs, and then we'll kind of break down the mix of the ad-libs. Check it out.
Locked in, doing what I gotta do. Big bands like Bonnaroo. G, show them how to go and get the alley-oop.
All right, three ways that separation was created. One, just lowering the volume of the ad-lib, right? Obviously. Number two is he's removed a good bit of the lower frequencies that make up the ad-lib, which gives it that kind of telephone sounding effect. And by doing that, they feel further away. And this is due to something called the proximity effect. Basically meaning the more bass that's in your vocal, the closer it sounds, the less bass, the further it feels away. For an example, if I get close to the mic right here, you hear way more bass in my voice, right? But if I back up a little bit like this, you hear more the higher frequencies of my voice and not so much the bass of the voice. And the third thing that's making this vocal feel so much further in the back is it has a lot more reverb / delay on it. One of the two or a combination of both. It's kind of hard to tell. But listen to that. When you hear the ad-lib, you can hear the decay. You can hear the echoing of it. Again, that's giving it a sense of space and making it feel further away. Check it out.
Locked in, doing what I gotta do. Big bands like Bonnaroo. G, show them how to go and get the alley-oop.
Yeah, you can hear that delay on it.
Locked in, doing what I gotta do. Big.
You can hear the tail on gotta do. Listen.
Locked in, doing what I gotta do. Big bands like Bonnaroo.
So let's do a quick recap. Number one, your vocal delivery does not have to be all over the place in order for it to sound good. And typically the more relaxed that your vocal is, the less you're projecting your voice, like yelling and screaming, the more bass is going to be in your voice and the more natural and rich your vocal will sound a lot of times. Number two, typically a good place to add a little bit more energy on your words are on rhymes, are on words that land on beats, and also like words that just require a little bit more stress or sustain. Number three, Cal filled in the gaps left by his main vocal performance by using three different types of ad-libs: repeats, additional phrases, and responses. And he also used a mixing technique known as delay throws to also fill these gaps in as well. And tip number four, if you need your vocals, like your background vocals, to feel like they're a little bit further in the back, try one or a combination of the following. Lower the volume, cut out some of the lower frequencies, maybe up to 500 hertz or even more if you need to, and play around with adding some reverb or delay to it. So let me know, have you struggled with the quality of your rap vocal production? And if so, let me know which one of these techniques that you're going to try out the next time you're dropping some tracks in the studio. And this is the fourth and final video of this Cal Scruby Cigarette Break series, where I have broken down this song more than I thought I ever would a song. I've done a video focusing strictly on his rap flow. I've done another one on his rhyme schemes. I did another one on his songwriting techniques, and this one is strictly focused on his vocal production. If you haven't already checked out all the other videos, oh my goodness, there's so much gold nuggets in them. I've created a playlist. I'll post a link in the video's description below as well. So make sure you check that out if you haven't already. And if you're new to my channel, do not leave until you get yourself a copy of my ebook, The #1 Fundamental to Rapping. That's my gift to you. It's totally free, and it's something that's going to show you how to keep your listeners' attention from beginning to end and leave them wanting more. It's going to give you a really good brief overview of how rapping works, and it's an easy read. It's something that you can consume within 30-40 minutes, and it's something I truly wish I would have had when I first started rapping, and I think it's going to add a ton of more value to you. You can get that as well in the video's description below. My name is Cole Mize, or ColeMizeStudios.com, where it's my main goal to help you be a better rapper now. And always remember, when it comes to rapping, there's no rules. There's only techniques. Peace. Hey man, you see that subscribe button right there? Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. Oh, and don't forget the bell icon. Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. Hey, I know you see that like button, right? Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. And look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, today I'm gonna kill it, kill it.